Hello everyone, Charman here. So today I am continuing on with my Python videos, and so far I've introduced what Python is, why, some of its features, and why I like to use it. Then I talked about certain IDE programs you can run. So I introduced idle, and so that's what I'm going to use for this project. So I'm going to introduce you to a concept of variables, and we're going to write our first program. Now, we're just going to write a simple hello world program, but we're going to use variables and stuff like that instead of just printing out to the terminal. So a bit more of an advanced hello world to introduce, like I said, the concept of variables, which you'll use a lot. So the first thing is, what is a variable? So a variable is a location in memory that we can use to refer to a certain value, and we can assign a name to that. So for instance, say you wanted to have a variable or a location in memory to hold the word hello. You can do something like word1 equals hello. Now, I'm wrapping the word hello in quotation marks. That signifies to Python that this is a string. So there are different types of data types in Python. There's strings, so what you see here, in which are represented in quotations. Okay. There is also, let's make another one. So number 1. And that's just simply 1. Okay. So this is an integer, which is a full number. Okay. Or a whole number. Now, you can also do what is known as a float. So say number 2 equals 1.25. It's a floating number because there's a decimal point. Okay, and everything after the decimal point is will be known as a float. If we converted this to an integer, which we can, this will simply be represented as 1. Okay. And let's make word2 equal world. So this is a concept known as variables. We'll use variables just like this, so that if I need the word hello somewhere else in a much bigger program, I can use that. There are different types of variables. Generally, there are 2. There are global variables. Global variables can be called anywhere in the program. And then there are local variables. So once we start talking about functions and loops and stuff like that, there are local variables that are declared inside of a function that can only be called within that function. Also, in that function, you cannot call a global variable unless you put global in front of the variable you want to call, which tells Python, hey, call upon the global variable. But we'll get to that in later videos. Okay, so what we'll want to do right now is, like in all Hello World programs, we'll want to print out to the terminal Hello World. So to do that, we'll call on the print function. Okay. And in the print function, you'll do you'll put it in parentheses. We'll do word1 plus word2. So in idle, if you hit F5, it'll ask you to save it. So you can just say hello world, run it, and you get hello world. Now, let's beat this up a little, because so far we've learned about printing hello world to the terminal. But we did something else here, which is known as concatenation. What does concatenation mean? Concatenation is when we put two strings together to form, in this case, hello world. So concatenation works on strings, because if I did number 1 plus number 2, okay, let's see what happens. I actually get the sum of number 1 plus number 2. It doesn't concatenate it. In this case, the plus operator here concatenates the two words. In the plus operator in between number 1 and number 2 is the mathematical operator, which will then yield the result of 1 plus 1.25. Okay? So, there's another thing in Python, actually in all programming languages, which is the order of operations, or the order of execution. So, let's copy this code, and there is a really good resource which is called Python Tutor. So if you want to see this in action, if you can't visualize it in your head, this is a perfect tool. I'll put this in the description below. What you can do is put in your code and then click forward one by one, and you can see step by step what Python does. So Python evaluates word, which equals hello. Then goes number 1 equals 1. Number 2, 1.25. Print is next with hello world. And then again for 2.25. Now, if you'll notice, it goes from top to bottom, executing one line at a time. We can modify this order of execution, and we'll talk about it in a later video, with if statements or conditionals. So we can say, if word 1 equals hello, then print word 2, or do something with word 2. You can modify this, but in general, without any conditionals, it's top to bottom, one line at a time. So let's modify this code, because there's a couple of things here, right? Number 1, we get hello world, but all bunched together. So what happens if I want to add maybe a blank space, because that is two separate words, let's say. What you can do is, within the print statement, you can do plus, put a blank space, like that. So a string character, a string that holds a blank space. So quotations, space, and then quotation, and then plus word 2. And now I get hello world. Okay. Say I wanted maybe hello and world to be put on different lines. You can do the plus and then the backslash, which is the slash right on top of your enter key. And let's see what happens now. Now I get hello and then world on different lines. So that is a hello world using variables, and we went over the different types of numbers and data types. Now, let's say you wanted to see these data types in action. Okay, you want to see, is word 1 actually a string? what is number 1 and what is number 2. We can add print type word 1, print type number 1. Okay, so what we're doing here is telling Python, use the print function, print the type of word 1. We close it with 2 brackets because we need to close off the the first bracket and the second bracket. And let's run this program. So, hello world 2.26. Now, here we go. The first one is a string, integer, and float. Let's check that out. String, integer, float. Okay, so that goes to confirm what I've been saying, that a single number will be an integer. A number with a decimal point by default is a float. Now let's do one more function. Let's do one more exercise, and then we'll finish this advanced hello world type program. So let's say I want number 2 to be an integer. What I can do is, with another variable, I can do number 3 equals int number 2, and then print, oh, that should be number 3, print number 3. So what should I expect? Well, I'm converting number 2 from a float to an integer. Okay, so what I expect to see is the number 1. And there I have it, the number 1. Okay, so what happened here? Well, number 1, actually, what we should do is this to illustrate it better. We'll print number 2 to see the difference. So number 2, when it was a float, displayed the decimal point 1.25. Now I've changed that into an integer, so there is no decimal points in an integer. We only have the whole number. So since this will equal to 1, will evaluate to 1, because it's now an integer, we only see the number 1. Okay. So that's the different data types in Python, and writing a more advanced Python hello world script. I will post some scripts to my GitHub where I do pretty much some print statements with all the different types of data types and the code to this little hello world program, so you can explore more. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. If you want to learn anything about Python or you have any questions about some of the concepts that we covered today, also you can email me at sean@seanmancini.com. Talk to you soon.